press a button. All right. All right. Good evening. So thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Lori Binder and I'm the head of school here at Gray Academy. And welcome to Let's Get This Potty Started, which was the title written by our director of marketing, who always finds a fun way to bring to light our intention this evening. I am joined this evening by Lainey Filko, our early years coordinator. So she's up there in my upper left while I'm watching the waiting room, and Sun Hoffman, our occupational therapist that we are so fortunate to have working with us in our school on a regular basis. Our intention with this is really to highlight the partnership that we like to have with families, a recognition that even before the start of school and throughout a child's schooling, that education goes beyond the classroom, goes beyond what we do with children, that we have the amazing specialists that we work with to be able to share insight, especially those developmental stages prior to the start of school. So I'm going to pass it on to Lainey, our early years coordinator, to introduce our special guest speaker, Sun Hoffman, and then Sun will take us through about a 30-minute workshop, really highlighting her advice on working with your children and toileting. And there will be ample time for you to ask questions throughout, and Sun will guide you. So without further ado, Lainey will do our introduction.
Hi, yeah, welcome. Again, thanks everyone for being here tonight. It's nice to see some faces on the screen. It's Zoom is sometimes a little bit strange still, but you can't beat its convenience. So I'm so glad that so many of you are able to join us tonight. So Sun is, as Lori said, she's an occupational therapist, and Sun has 30 years of experience. She's worked in pediatric settings for the past 20 years. She specializes in sensory processing and sensory processing dysfunctions and their impact on behaviors. Sun has been an amazing resource for myself and for the early years team at Gray. And we're just so grateful to have her here tonight to be able to put on this workshop. I'm also grateful that I myself am out of the potty training years. I thought maybe Sun afterwards you could stay on for the teenage years and we could have a second session for that. Maybe we'll see.
That'll be another workshop.
Yeah, another workshop. Okay, so yeah, so Sun, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lori and Lainey. I'm really thrilled to be here and thrilled that so many of you are interested in potty training. So I'm just going to do a screen share. I do have a little presentation. Um, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
Thank you. All right. So my presentation today is on potty training from an occupational therapist point of view, because that's what I am. I'm an occupational therapist. And as Lainey has already mentioned, I've worked as an OT for 30 years. And more importantly, I'm a mother of 3 children who are all potty trained. They're now in their early 20s. Oh, where's my, why is my, oh, there we go. Oh no, sorry. Technical difficulties. Don't look at this. Oh dear. Now, okay. Sorry. Now we're back. So this is my family, and I have 3 adult children. This is a picture that was taken this summer of my oldest when she just got engaged to the redhead. His name is Brad. He's also a teacher, and my daughter is a speech therapist, and my son, who has that colorful t-shirt on, is also a teacher. And my youngest daughter is in Asper School Business in her last year this year. And honestly, I remember those days when we were potty training, and I think our oldest was potty trained by the time she was 18 months. But really, because I think I was potty trained, I was the one that was trained, not her. Um, and I don't honestly remember potty training my son. It was all a blur. And then my youngest daughter, and she has given me permission to share this with you. She was probably potty trained for daytime by the time she was about 2.5. And nighttime, She was not potty trained until she was 12. So I just share that with you to say that every child is unique. There is no, normal age, but if your sister or neighbor tells you that their child was potty trained at 6 months, you can just be happy for them and know that they're probably lying or something like that. But I just want to say that it will be okay. All of your children will be potty trained and they will be successful in life. So, okay. Why am I interested in potty training as an occupational therapist? Because OTs are concerned about activities of daily living and functioning and being your best as a person. And being toilet trained is a very important function for anyone. And so today I'm going to talk about sensory processing, the why behind the how, what self-regulation is, signs of potty readiness, skills needed for potty training, and then the tips and tricks that you can try, and we'll leave some time at the end for question and answers. All right, so what is sensory processing? It really is about your brain and how your nervous system detects, regulates, interprets, and responds to sensory information. And so sensory processing is an important factor in considering your child's attention, their memory, behavior, and function. And your child's brain needs to be able to register sensory information from their environment and react appropriately to it in all areas of function, especially potty training. What are your senses? So you all know what your basic senses are, right? So you have the five obvious ones, which is touch, tactile, smell, olfactory, sight, what you see, hearing, what you hear, and taste. And all of these senses really affect how you react to your environment. But there's also these two hidden senses, sense of balance and movement, kinesthetics, and also proprioception, which is your input from your muscles and joints, which tells your body or tells your brain where your body's in space. So proprioception is actually a really important hidden sense of your body, but there's also an eighth sense called introception. And introception is your ability to sense what is going on inside your body internally. So I know all of you are muted, but if I was to ask you, how do you know you're hungry? Like, how would you know? Probably your body, maybe your stomach starts growling, or you start getting hangry or something. Or if I asked you, how do you know that you have to go to the bathroom? Some of you might say, I start doing my pot, like, like a little wiggle, or you feel a little fullness in your bladder, or you feel a little bit uncomfortable. That is what interoception is. And interoception is a sense that's really important to be aware of before you can start doing potty training for your child. And it is very developmental. So I also want to talk about limbic resonance because your child is attached to the main caregiver or the parent by kind of this attachment theory, but also their brain, and their brain kind of mirrors your brain. And the reason I bring this up is because it's really important for you to have a good sense of who you are, your own awareness, and of your own sense of self-regulation. Because if you are not regulated and if you are not calm, it probably will reflect on your child. Um, I'm not saying it's your fault or anything. I don't take that shame and stuff away, but I'm just saying that it is really important to be aware of your own sense of self. Okay. So what are the sensory processing skills that are needed? Your brain's ability to receive and interpret the signals from your senses to help coordinate the body and the brain to self-regulate. So when our body is able to receive and interpret the signals, you're able to process things, and your child is able to have that body awareness to do all the components that are related to toileting. It's not automatic to feel the urge to go and just go to the bathroom. Each step of the task has to be thought out and carefully performed. So it's important to be patient. And it's hard to know what to do if you can't feel what you're supposed to feel. And so that's why the whole idea of being aware of your child's sensory processing skills is really important. And you need to be able to self-regulate before you can do potty. So what is self-regulation? Self-regulation is your ability to stop and start your body and your emotions. So it's very important uh, for your child to be able to self-regulate before you start potty training. And self-regulation is developmental. So when your child was a newborn, a newborn baby, 0 days old, how was their self-regulation? It was terrible, right? They poop anytime they want, they pee, they cry. They're just really cute. And that's all there is. So when they're newborn, their self-regulation is at zero. They have no skills at all. But around the age of 12 to 18 months, this is when their sense of self-regulation starts to develop. They're able to know where their body is in space. They're starting to walk, they're starting to talk, and it's developing. So your self-regulation is a developmental thing. And around the age 24 to 36 months, this is when they're able to have a more of a sense of who they are. They're able to separate themselves from you. They know who they are, and they're also able to transfer skills from area one environment to another. So, for example, um, rules at home can be transferred to rules at daycare or school. So this is a really good and important kind of time for them to learn. So once your kids are self-regulated, um, these are some of the signs that your child will tell you that they're ready for potty training. So for example, can your child stay dry for a few hours? So they're still in their diaper, but have you noticed that their diaper is dry for at least a couple hours in between? Can your child notice when they're wet or dry? Like, are they squiggling around? Do they look like they're uncomfortable? Do they um, show you that they might want to go potty, like on the toilet like you do? Another sign is that your child is able to sit for 5 minutes. So not necessarily sit on a potty, but can your child actually sit on a chair for 5 minutes? So you can't expect your child to sit on a potty if they can't sit on a chair, right? Another sign is that your child has predictable bowel movements on a schedule. So if your child tends to be constipated, or they kind of go whenever, and there's not a predictable routine for their BMs, I would delay starting potty training. And I think this is also really important that sometimes parents forget is, can your child pull down their pants, down their underwear, and can they pull up their pants and their underwear? So if they have these kind of signs, your child may be ready for potty training. If you have any questions, please put it on the chat for later at the end, and then we can address those. Okay, so now that you know that your child is showing the signs, what are the skills needed for potty training? I do have a list of a checklist for skills. So if you're interested, I can forward it to Lori or Lainey, and they can forward it to all the parents that are here today or who are registered. So you don't have to worry about writing notes or trying to remember all those things, but there are certain skills that are needed. So number one, is your child physically ready, and do they have the motor skills? For example, can they sit on a chair? Can they get up onto the potty or a regular toilet chair seat without assistance? Can they pull their pants down and bring it up by themselves? Um, can they wipe themselves with minimal assistance? And we're going to talk about wiping a little bit later. Do they have the verbal and communication skills? Can your child understand and follow basic instructions? And do they understand the concept of using the potty? Can your child express when they need to go potty? It doesn't have to be in full sentences, but it could be through words or gestures or just kind of pointing to the potty or pointing to their, their stomach area. Is your child able to let you know, basically, that they have to go? And do they have the cognitive readiness and awareness? Does your child understand the cause and effect related to toileting? For example, do they know where the pee and poo goes, that it goes down the toilet? Do they know how to flush the toilet after using the potty, etc., etc.? The other things are sensory processing. We already talked a little bit about that, but is your child comfortable with the sensory aspects of using the potty, such as texture of the toilet paper on their bum, the feeling of an underwear, the sounds in the bathroom? I would kind of encourage you to go into your bathroom and look at it from a your toddler's perspective. A bathroom can be a really scary place. It's loud. It could be noisy with the flush of the toilet. It's maybe really bright. So it could be overwhelming, like that whole sensory overload. Does your child have sensory sensitivities that could impact their toileting? Like, some kids are actually really scared of the sound of the flushing, and there's little tips and tricks that you can do to help with that. We can talk about later. Do they have some other sensory sensitivities that you might have to accommodate for? And that's very common as well. You could put in the fan on to kind of dampen the noise of the flushing of the toilet and stuff like that. Okay, are they emotionally ready? Is your child showing interest and curiosity in using the potty or wearing an underwear? I think this is where I made the mistake with my first child because, your first child, your oldest child, you always are over, at least I was. I was the typical first child parent. And by the time she was 18 months, I was really gung-ho about getting her all potty trained. But to be honest, looking back, I don't think she was showing me the signs that she was ready. And I don't think she had all the skills needed. And she probably didn't have the curiosity. It was more me. So just be aware of that. Is your child expressing wanting to do things independently? Like, do they say, I do it myself, or, things like that? And is your child emotionally comfortable with the idea of potty training? One of the things that I want to stress is you don't want your child to be potty trained, or you don't want to make it a stressful time. You don't want it to be, you don't want your child to associate potty training with stress or anxiety. I always talk about creating positive episodic memories with your child. And so you want this experience, this skill to be a positive memory for your child. And you can do that by being prepared and getting things ready and coming to workshops like this at 8 o'clock at night. So you're all doing great. Social readiness. Does your child imitate you going to the bathroom, like while they're doing pretend play? Are they open to learning new skills? And is your child aware of social cues related to toileting, such as recognizing when others use a bathroom? And finally, are you as a parent ready for potty training your child? It's a big commitment, I'm going to have to say. Are you able to be consistent with potty training routines and positive reinforcements for at least 3 hours a day for probably at least a week? You have to be pretty committed. do you have a extended time for maybe 2 to 3 months where you can be consistent and be committed? Are you open to trying different approaches that cater to your child's preferences and needs? Like I mentioned with my own 3 children, they were all very different and unique. And do you have support systems in place? So you can't be the only one potty training. Like, is your partner, do you have parents, other caregivers that can um, jump in and help and be consistent? All right. I'm just going to take a deep breath and go on to tips and tricks that I think work really well. So now you know that your child is showing the signs, they have the skills. What do you do? What can you do? I would start with putting an underwear under their pull-ups because I find the pull-ups and diapers these days, they're so absorbent that your child might not even feel that they're wet. So if you put an underwear on under, they'll feel the wetness, they'll feel uncomfortable, and then they'll be able to let you know that they're wet or that they have to go. And they will also have a more sense of control. I also want you to be a sensory detective. So don't ask your child if they have to go pee or poo. Number one, they might not be aware. And number two, they might be having so much fun doing what they're doing, like playing a game or whatever, that they'll probably say no. What you can do is you can say, "Hey, Johnny, I see that you're jumping on the spot and you're wiggling your body. Your body is telling me that it's potty time." And so you can say, "Let's go do potty." And so you're actually helping them to be more aware of their body and helping them with that sense of introspection. I would have the environment ready. So have the potty seats. If you decide to have a potty chair on the floor, that's fine. But if you also opt for a potty seat, like those ones that you can put on the toilet, I would recommend getting a footstool so that they can sit unsupported and feel safe. The kids, if they think that they're going to fall through the toilet, they're not going to feel comfortable. You want their body to be relaxed and comfortable. And the reason you want a footstool too is not just for the stability, but you want their knees above their hips so that it's easier for their body to void. Um, for boys, you can have visual markers like painter's tape on the floor so to show them where to stand so that they're not hitting the rim of the toilet, or you can put Cheerios in the toilet for them to aim at. I've heard of people putting blue dye in the toilet so that when they go to they pee in it, it turns green. Things like that. For kids that need a little bit more security, or stability on the toilet, you can have them actually facing the toilet back so that they're sitting backwards on the toilet facing it. I would also recommend having toileting visual schedules and routine. You don't have to have it doesn't have to be anything major. Just you could even draw a little schedule with stick figures and have that show that you can read books and sing songs. I have a list that I'm going to recommend in a little bit. Another great trick and tip is once you have your child seated on the toilet seat, have them blow bubbles. And what that does is it pushes the diaphragm down, so it helps to have a little, tickle or trickle, and then you can celebrate like, "Yay, you went pee in the potty," and it's also fun. But I also want to stress that you don't want your child to be sitting on the toilet for more than 5 minutes because you don't want it to be a time where they just sit there, and don't bring your phone in there. And you have to show good modeling as well. You don't want to go into the toilet with your phone for 10 minutes or half an hour. So, just have to keep those things in mind. I would also do motor planning games outside the bathroom. So things like have them do things that will help them shift their weight while they're seated. So you can put a toy in front of them and then put a box behind them so that they pick up their toy in front and then put it back behind them in their in the box so that they're used to shifting their weight as they're reaching for the toilet paper and then wiping their bum, things like that. See all these things that an ONI and OT would think about, right? Um, I would also practice wiping, and we'll talk about that a bit later. I would also encourage you to be calm after they have accidents. And I will guarantee you that they'll probably have accidents after you think they're even toilet trained or fully potty trained. So just be calm and say, oh, you know what? That's okay. We all have accidents. Help them clean up. And what I would do is if they poop in the toilet in their underwear or their pull-ups, I would take the poop with them, put it into the toilet, flush the toilet so that they're still doing that toileting routine, and then have them, wash their hands and all that stuff. And then clean up the bathroom with your child, so that they understand the routine of and the at the tip of toileting. Okay. Okay. Wiping. This is something that the kindergarten teachers specifically asked me to talk about because they said oftentimes parents will check that their children are totally potty trained, but um, they're not independent with their wiping of their bum. And so I have a full screen just for wiping. And what it is you want to practice wiping with your child, and have them wipe themselves. You have to show them where to wipe. They might not know where to wipe. You could use a long-handled mirror for your child to see where to wipe if they need it. They need. You also have to work on gradation of force. Like, so you can use a plum or a peach or a balloon, spread some peanut butter on it, and have your child practice wiping the peanut butter off the balloon so that it's not too, again, like you don't want your child to be uncomfortable while you're wiping, but you also want them to be clean. You could also use flushable wipes. They're a little bit more comfortable, but just be aware that some of them you don't want them to get too used to it, but that would be something good to start with. Uh, and for little girls to help practice wiping front to back. All right. So what are some songs to make it fun for them? There's lots of songs on YouTube, but these are some of the songs that are my favorites, like the Poop Song, the Potty Time by Sesame Street, Potty Time theme song on Fantastic. I Can Pee and Poop on the Potty. It's actually endless. And there's a lot of books on potty training, and I won't read through them all, but here they are. And I also actually have a PDF book on wiping. So if you're interested, I can forward that, and you can also have that to read to your children. And it's really important to keep reiterating. Like, you know how your kids love to read the same books over and over again? This could be a favorite book for them to read over and over again about, being toilet trained and potty trained. So, okay, so now that you know the signs and the skills and the tips and tricks, what are some steps? Okay, take a deep breath. And what I would do is I would set aside some time because you're going to need a lot of time to focus on potty training your child. So maybe a long weekend when there's no family changes or stress. Like if you are going to be moving into a new house, that's not a time to start potty training. If you know you're going to have another little one coming along in a month, it's probably not a good time to be potty training. So just be aware of that. Secondly, I would set strict schedules and consistent routine. Consistency is the key. And third, I would introduce the bathroom to your child. So just kind of take them along, like you're giving them a tour of the bathroom. This is the toilet. This is where you flush the toilet. This is the sink where you wash your hands, things like that. You can also teach or model how to go potty step by step, um, again, through songs or reading books or watching videos, and have the bathroom ready and make it a fun and inviting environment. You can have maybe a potty seat that's car themes if they like cars. You can also get potty seats that are softer, that have a little bit of a cushion that's more comfortable. Have a stool, have stickers, have the bubbles, have it all ready to go. I would recommend that you put loose pants on your children or your child for easy dressing they're not frustrated trying to pull their pants down or up. And reward success with lots of praise. You can give them stickers, you can do lots of things like that, and have consistent language around potty. So if you're going to say, let's go potty, use that potty language. Don't use different languages because they might get confused, and make it fun. Potty can be fun and be persistent, but also flexible. So if you start potty training because you think your child is showing signs and skills at 2, but it's kind of dragging on for 2 or 3 or 4 months and you're getting frustrated, I would just maybe put a hold on it, and reintroduce in a few more months. I know that part of the part of the requirements for entering JK and kindergarten is that your child will be potty trained. And I firmly believe that barring any medical um, reasons, they they should be potty trained by 3 or 4. So, all right, now is time for any questions and answers that you may have for this occupational therapist. I'm just gonna check the chat and see what
Yeah,
can we do if their child actually has sensory sensitivity stopping them. Um, that's a great question. It depends. Oh, and it was a direct message. So I could answer that. Can I answer that?
yeah, you
And you
can.
don't know
It's
who you don't
I
know who asked.
no,
What's that?
hi, it was me. Do you listen to
Uh,
me?
okay,
Um,
thank you.
It didn't let me
So
like put it up in a note. That's why I sent it directly to you, but you can also.
okay. Uh so if I yeah, so it depends on what kind of sensory sensitivity your child has. So if your child is a sensory, it depends. Like some kids are sensory seekers where they want more sensory, and other kids are sensory avoiders where they don't want sensory. So, for example, some kids that are sensory seekers, they like wearing a diaper. They like the pressure of the diaper around their bum. It's comforting and it's it's so they prefer it. And what I would do with that, if that's kind of your situation, I would put a hole in the diaper
Mhm.
and have them kind of
See through that to go
okay,
through,
sorry, I can't really hear you.
like through the hole. That's what you're saying in the wash. No se escucha. ¿Dónde está esa? I'm gonna wear some.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you, but I will try to, if you put it on chat, maybe I'll be able to see it better. Um, do you suggest using pull-ups or underwear under the pull-ups for overnight as well? I would, I would, because then it'll wake them up and it'll give them, again, it's that body signal to the brain that their body's wet and that they need to go. So that's a great question. I would do that. Is it true that boys typically show readiness a little later than girls? Yes, it is. And I'll tell you why. Because boys actually mature their brains a little bit later than girls. So that is true.
Hi,
And
can you hear me now?
I can hear, you know what? I'm just going to stop share and I'm going to turn my volume up and see if I can hear you a little bit better. Okay, I have it up really high.
Hi, do you hear me?
Hi.
I'm
Yes,
fine.
I can hear you better.
So she's highly sensitive.
Okay.
I would say like noises are really hard for her, flushing,
Mm, yep.
vacuums, some things she's sensitive to touch and she like has a very big gag reflex. Like when she sees her sister, the baby eating and gagging, she gags back at her.
Okay.
Like she has this like it's like a disgust, I would say.
Okay.
And
Yep.
also, I wanted to say, like, because I have friends that I see that they are online in here, and we all have an issue with having started. Like, we all
Hmm.
started and it was going well, and we were like, "Oh, this was easy. It's been 3 days and she's doing it." And then we all regressed, and we're all in diapers again. So I also wanted to ask that if it was that they weren't ready, or maybe we were not consistent enough. That was also like, what can we do to go back, because she now is like, my daughter now refuses.
How old is she?
She's almost 3, so 2 years.
Okay. I mean, every child is different and unique, and there's a lot of different reasons why your daughter may have gone back to preferring a diaper. It could be a lot of different reasons. It could be sensory. It could also be just her sense of wanting control of the situation. I don't, maybe I didn't under hear you, but did you have another child? Like, does she have a baby
Yeah,
sister or?
has a baby sister.
Yeah, so that's very common. So when a child has a younger sibling, they will regress because they see your baby getting all this attention. And so they kind of think, I'm going to go back to being a baby. That's very, very common. I wouldn't stress about that. I would, just to answer more specific questions about the sensory issues about noise, you can dampen the noise of the flushing by giving her like noise canceling headphones um, before you flush. You could put the fan on so that it dampens the noise a little bit. You can do a few other things like that.
Okay,
In terms of, sorry,
I'll try that. Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. And the other thing too is um, I would just keep her in diapers for now. And just remember I talked about how you don't want toilet training to be a stressful time. So when you are ready to commit to a little bit more time to spend with your daughter, and that you're more relaxed about it, let her be relaxed, and then it'll probably, if she was toilet trained once, before potty trained before, it'll probably go smoothly. But I wouldn't really worry about the fact that she's back in her diaper right now.
I wouldn't say she was like fully potty trained, but we were starting and it was like looking good, like
Yeah,
fewer accidents, and then like fully back into diapers, like completely, like all accidents. Like I had to do that. Like I have a few friends that I see that they are online here and they have the same issue.
yeah. So is your daughter uh showing the signs and skills needed
I
for
mean,
toilet training right now?
the skills I think she has. The
Okay.
signs, she used to have them, but now like she's way more verbal and she's always saying like, I'm not gonna do it." I think there
Oh,
are.
okay.
I told her like, we all adults have diapers, and she says, "I think not. I think my grandma wears diapers." So she's like completely refusing, even though I know she has the skills. I see like I see that she actually releases in her diaper. Like I see how she focuses to release pee and poo. Like she knows exactly what she's doing when she's doing it.
Okay. So in that situation, what I would suggest is I would sing all those songs. I would uh, read those books. And when you see that she's about to void, like that she's showing the body, like I would say, oh, your body's showing me that you have to pee or poo. Let's go to potty. And if she refuses, but she goes in her potty or in her diaper, I would take her to the bathroom and still do those steps, like take her to the bathroom, help her pull her pants down, take the poop out of her diaper, flush it down the toilet, have her wash her hands, so that she's still doing the steps um of toileting. but also don't make it a big thing. Like just be like, oh, it's okay, just be very nonchalant about it.
Son, I have a question that came to me that's similar, but I'll just
Okay.
ask. The question was, if you already see the child showing signs of pooping in the diaper, would you suggest still bringing the child to the toilet to finish in the toilet, or at
Yeah.
least to put the poop in the toilet?
Yes. Yes to both.
I have a curiosity from an observer point of view, which is, how do you suggest parents transition children to toilets outside the home? Because when children come into
Oh,
a school setting, they often
mm,
are exposed to more industrial toilets. It's even louder than what you will hear in a home bathroom. And we have observed children who may be comfortable in their home environment, but maybe have not gone to a public bathroom in a shopping mall or in a
yeah.
school, for example. So what would you recommend?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And I would recommend practicing. So before your child goes to school, I would go to your, maybe grandma's house or aunt's house and use their bathroom. I would go to a mall and use the bathroom. So you be very intentional about using different spaces and environments. Places like the mall or yeah, public places have automatic flushing systems too that can be startling for the child. And so a trick that you can use is you can put like a sticky note on it so that it doesn't flush every time the child moves. And then they'll have a little bit more control over that too. But yeah, practice, practice, practice in different environments. That's what I would recommend. I see another question here. How do you manage consistency with children who go to daycare? We found that as soon as our son went to daycare after a weekend of training, he started to regress. Yeah, that is a good question. Well, a weekend of training, I would suggest picking a time, maybe when there's a little bit longer, so that it's not just the weekend, um, so that you can be consistent. It's really difficult for the daycare workers to, I think, unless the daycare is in line with potty training, um, to follow through with that. So I would just choose an extended period of time where you can commit to toilet training. Oh, I have another question here. Does overnight training develop much later than daytime training? I think that depends on the child. So, like I explained with my oldest child, she was trained fully for daytime and nighttime. My son, I don't know why, but I honestly don't remember potty training. I just totally blanked out. But with my youngest daughter, she wasn't nighttime trained. She was till she was 12. And again, she gave me permission to share that. And and I for her, it was actually the reason she was not nighttime trained was this is what the doctor told us, anyways. Um, she was such a deep sleeper that she just could not wake up to any body, her body telling her she had to go pee. She would just go pee in bed, and she wouldn't even wake up, um, even though she was sleeping in a wet thing. So we did everything we could. We tried everything. We tried rewards. We put potty liners under her. We would wake her up at 11 o'clock. She would go to bed earlier. We would wake her up before we went to bed or just walk her to the toilet. Um, but it just kept going on and on and on. And eventually she outgrew it at the age of 12. So it can be a long haul. Hopefully, it's not usual that it's unusual, but I just say that to encourage you that they will eventually be potty trained. And
So
actually, sorry. I was just going to share that what actually I think helped her was we got this little device um, that you clip on to the underwear. And when it gets wet, when it feels wet, it zaps, it goes bzzz, like this. And so it woke her up the first night. And she actually said, I still remember this. She's like, "You're trying to electrocute me. You're trying to kill me." But for some reason, I think it kind of did something to her brain because ever since then she was potty trained. So it was good. And she was 12. These are great questions. If you have any other questions that are more specific, feel free to message me. So,
I see a
but
question to you, Sun. I'm not sure if you
okay.
saw it. I see a question. What do you do with a child that does not have good listening skills?
Mm, what do I do with a child that doesn't have this? Perhaps that child isn't ready for toilet training then. And again, I just want to stress that you want it to be a positive experience. You don't want it to drag on to be like a control issue between you and your child. So if your child doesn't want to go on the potty, I wouldn't force it. I really wouldn't. Any other questions? These are great questions. Thank you.
In what way we can like push them into the toilet without forcing them?
I would just make it fun. Make it a fun thing. Like they want to make it so fun that they would want to go potty, that they feel like it's their choice. If you feel comfortable, I would take them to go on their little potty while you go on the big toilet, and just model for them. I just would not push it. That's what I just wouldn't drag it on to make it go longer. You don't want it to be a point of contention with your child. You could give them rewards, stickers. You can give lots of praise. Sometimes, you know what? Sometimes what it takes is uh, if they know that their friends are potty trained, and like peer pressure really works sometimes too at a certain age. So, but I just wouldn't stress. I can't stress enough not to be stressed about potty training for you. Any other questions?
I think what we'll do, Son, is I think Lainey's going to do some closing remarks and I'll do some
Sounds
final
good.
words. And then if anybody wants to stay on right after that, we can, hold this open until 9 o'clock. So Lainey, I'll pass it to you.
San, thank you for that. I mean, I'm many years out of it, but it was still interesting to listen to. Still informative. So thank you for that. I guess Lori will talk to you a little bit about the early years now at Grey Academy. We're just in the middle of admissions, so it's so nice to see so many families, new families that we don't know yet. And Sen also, you'll see her sometimes too. She's in the building, and it's a treat on the days that she's there. So again, just thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope that this was helpful and at least got you to start thinking about some ideas.
Thanks, Lainey. And I'll just echo the thanks to Sen and thank you, Lainey, for those words. And, it's always interesting to be able to see a child's journey when they get started in junior kindergarten or kindergarten and they're transitioning to, the school environment. And our hope today was really to be able to amplify our message out, whether it's to current parents, prospective parents, or friends in our community that, may want to learn a little bit more as their children get ready for being school age, whether it's here at Grey Academy or somewhere else. We're really proud to, in our priority enrollment, to have now a wait list for our kindergarten. Our kindergarten is now in a wait list, which we're really excited about, and we'll definitely do our due diligence to ensure that all children who are looking for an education at Gray have an opportunity to be here. And our full day junior kindergarten also is in a wait list. So, potty training is part of the journey, whether it's a year from now or 3 years from now. And thank you for joining. We'll stay on for a few more minutes. I'm going to stop the record button.
Lori, I just wanted to add one more thing. In the way, just because Sun had mentioned a few times, obviously, that for children that are learning to potty train, every child is unique and every child is going to come at it at their own time. And I just think that that's also something that's really unique to Gray, in that we do have a lot of children coming in at this age, and all the children are coming in they're unique, obviously, but they're at very different stages. They're all developing at their own pace. And when I talk to a lot of the families, I think the most important thing for you to hear is that we really look at each child as an individual and see where they're at in their developmental stages, and how can we help that child go from point A to point B. We're not looking for all the children to get to the same point at the same time, but we're really looking at each child as an individual. So it's just very similar in terms of potty training. That's just something that's always on our mind, that we're just working with each child at their own stage. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thanks for that. And let's also add
That's a good point.
We also recognize that accidents happen. Like all of us as adults, children go through all of their trials and tribulations and their tummy issues and the things that may relate to being distracted to actually hearing their body while they're at school. And accidents do happen in early years, and they sometimes happen in elementary as well. And as a school, we're here to care for kids. That's why you send an extra set of clothes to school, even when you're in JK and K. And so, that's something that Lainey and her team work very closely with parents as they onboard to school. And that is part of life, is embracing the reality of what our kids will feel in their bodies. So thank you for coming on. Feel free. I'm gonna stop recording.